George, you talked about racism. Since I've known you, which has been about 40 years, you have always turned the other cheek toward racism. I mean, unless somebody was just rude, but especially when you got the job at Washington State, because you were the first black coach, I believe, in the Pac-8.
Yes, I was.
And certainly the first black coach in Washington.
Mm-hmm. In the state of Washington.
In the state of Washington, probably at any level. Junior high, high school. And some of the letters you received, I happen to see, and yet your response to them was always, it's great we live in a country where we can feel this way, and sorry, this is how you feel, maybe someday we can break bread together. And, and we're thinking as assistants, and, the four of us were white, that the only thing we'd like to break with this guy's his neck, especially with the tone. When did you develop that?
I don't know, Jack.
Or why?
I think at the Washington State situation was that I didn't never believe that you could defeat hate with hate. I think I always felt that it was incumbent upon me, one, to not take their hatred that seriously, two, to try to get them to a position of neutrality. And so when it came to correspondence and stuff like that, what I did was I would try to make to neutralize them a little bit, and I'll let you tell about the one letter. But usually one of my other methods was I would take the letter and I would send it back to the person, and I would just say, "Dear Mr. Jenkins, I received this letter and I want to share it with you because someone is using your name and trying to make you look like you're a racist. And I know that you're not that kind of person. So I'm sending this back to you, and you might want to get a hold of the FBI."
I have a copy of that someone is using your name and defaming your good name. It was classic. It was a classic response. I still have a copy of that letter, but the letters got pretty nasty, especially at the beginning. And one thing, back then, like we said, there was no internet. Really, East Coast, West Coast didn't know each other. Nobody knew what was going on. And there's a funny story. Marv Harshman was the head coach there, except for the 1 year in between, and his assistant was Judd Heathcote. Judd took the Montana job, and then Marv went and took the University of Washington job. You came out, and I remember that you said, while they're driving you around campus, you used to see these posters in the window, "We want Judd." And I remember you thinking that it might have been a student council election.
Yeah. I was so naive. I had no idea at that time who Judd was. And so when you went down Campus Way, and the dorms were up to the left and right, and you'd see sporadically, you'd see these signs, "We want Judd," And so, I thought it was just a student body elections. I had no idea that these were people saying, "Hey, we want Heathcote to be the coach."
And as it turned out, Heathcote had several friends, Don Munson being one of them, longtime coach, and he was not one of your big fans, nor was Judd, because he wanted the job. And yet, those two guys turned into two of your biggest friends.
Yeah, we were able to grow and bond together, and to this day, I still consider Judd a close friend of mine. I haven't seen him much. He's living up in Spokane.
Right.
And Coach Monson, the same thing. We competed against each other when he was the head coach at Idaho, and both of them were truly in Oregon, right? They're truly outstanding coaches and people that I learned a lot from, and subsequently we became good friends and understood each other. And I think it's tough when you compete against people that have really close friendships with them. It's rare anymore, because you almost have to develop a little bit of disdain for the other person as you try to motivate yourself mentally to secure a victory.